All right, so let's get going. So, hey everybody, welcome to Creative Ops, where we decode the trends that are shaping the future of business and tech. I'm Tucker, and today we're diving into a more practical question teams need to answer: custom or off the shelf? It's really the decision that defines your tech stack. So, pose a question here to you guys. You're launching a new product, time is tight, your budget's even tighter. Do you buy a tool that mostly fits, or do you build your dream tech stack from scratch? Of course, if you make the wrong call, you'll be paying for it for years. To help us understand this topic, I'm once again joined by our resident tech expert, Monir. Monir, thanks for joining us today.
Hey Tucker, thank you for having me.
All right, let's jump right into it. So, Monir, when people say build versus buy, what are they really talking about in 2025?
Well, in 2025, build versus buy goes way beyond websites, e-commerce, and other stuff. It touches every layer of company's tech stack. So your internal tools, your customer-facing platforms, like even if you have an AI that powers your operations, it's all part of the question, build versus buy. So it's about choosing between speed and standardization versus flexibility and ownership. Do you use a SaaS product or build your own product? For example, do you use Shopify or build a headless storefront with custom checkout flows?
Okay, thanks for the definition. So, why do so many founders and teams get this decision wrong?
Well, I think there are two main reasons that for this. First of all, it's I think ego over strategy. Like founders think building means better in every case, or it means more control. But sometimes that control is just complexity disguised as customization. On the other hand, you have short-term thinking, like some teams, they buy just the cheapest and the fastest solution to market without thinking about scaling, integration, or data ownership down the line. So they underestimate the total cost. You either underestimate the total cost of building or overestimate the flexibility of ready-made tools.
Okay, so are we talking just about e-commerce and websites, or does it go deeper than that?
No, it definitely goes deeper. Let me give you a few examples of I think some domains. For example, in logistics, you have companies debating between building a custom route optimization engine or using a service like Routify. In fintech startups, they are stuck choosing between, for example, Stripe's identity APIs versus building their own know your customer engines to control the user flows. And SaaS companies, they are trying to decide whether to build their own billing engines, for example, or relying on services like ChargeBee or Paddle. So yeah, it applies to almost every domain, you name it, AI, data integrations, even compliance workflows.
Okay, that's quite broad, but let's get a little deeper into it. So, what are some red flags that scream, "Don't build this yourself"?
Oh, so you have some, I would say some clear red flags when you see you should definitely not build. For example, if you're trying to solve a problem that has already been solved, if the market has already matured, affordable tools, you're not creating value by reinventing them. So, for example, if you want to have a user authentication engine, you don't need to build your own engine. You can use Auth0. If you need CMS capabilities, you don't need to build that from scratch. You have a lot of CMSs like Contentful, like WordPress. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. If you have a problem that has been solved, you need to buy it. Second thing is if you don't have the in-house capability to build. So if you don't have a dev team, it's not your core IP, the feature that you're trying to build, then building it can burn months of time and cash. Go for a pre-built solution. And third, if your business model doesn't depend on the thing that you're building, for example, if the platform or the website that you're building is not your competitive differentiator, so you're just investing in an undifferentiated heavy lifting. You need to launch fast. You need to your time to market should be a business advantage. Uh, and if the problem can be solved with the off-the-shelf product, then buy it and validate your business first, then go for a custom build later.
I think we've all been involved in some of those projects where those red flags were missed, so thanks for pointing them out. Can you give me an example of a client who wasted time building something that they should have just bought?
Definitely, we worked with this mid-stage SaaS company in Europe that they decided to build their own internal subscription billing system. Like they thought that, for example, Stripe was too expensive for them, so they invested 6 months in building their own engine, uh, handling invoicing logic, tax calculations, upgrades, downgrades, dunning, and more. And by the time they launched, like in 6 months, Stripe had already added all the exact features that they were building and that they were aiming for. Worse than that, their system was fragile. They had zero reporting at that stage, and they needed constant maintenance to keep the system running. So they eventually switched to Stripe anyway, and they not just lost time, but they actually hurt their customer trust. And they thought by only saving 1K a month, they burned 60K in engineering time and delayed growth.
Well, really glad that I wasn't involved in that project. I can understand a huge hit to budget. Wow. Okay. So a lot of founders are saying we can just customize it later. Why can that be a trap then?
Okay, so I think we can call this the SaaS quicksand trap. Okay, so you buy something off the shelf thinking that, okay, we'll just tweak it later. But many, if not most, SaaS tools have rigid APIs. So the API is not as flexible as you would think it is. They have limited design or logic flows, and they would definitely charge you extra for custom features. So you end up bending your business around the tool that you have adopted, and that it wasn't built for you at the beginning. It's just a generic tool built to sell to as many customers as possible. And now you're locked in. You've sunk time into integration, your workflows rely on it, and your team is actually trained on it. Migrating away from that is painful. I can't tell you how painful is that. And I always tell founders, only choose SaaS, software as a service, if you can win within its constraints. Like if the tool that you're adopting covers all your needs at the beginning, go for it. If you know that you'll need deep customizations from day one, you should at least evaluate building the tool or the platform or the solution that you're aiming for.
Yeah, fair enough. So to summarize, basically you're saying buy when the feature is not core to your business.
Correct.
Avoid building some commodity, avoid building basically for commodity problems.
Yep.
You got to respect the hidden costs of building and don't just assume that you can easily customize later. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. That's 100% correct. You just nailed it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when related to building, what kind of businesses really benefit from building from scratch?
I think there are a couple of types of businesses that truly benefit from building. So if your business is a product-led business, like if your technology is the product, then you absolutely need full control. Then you need to build it. Think, for example, if you have an AI native service, if you have a software as a service yourself, or if you have a full platform of services. If your company has its unique workflows, like if your internal operations are highly specific and it can be modeled using on the market SaaS workflows, then building custom tools would definitely improve your efficiency dramatically. And last but not least, if your company is solving unsolved problems, like if your product or service doesn't fit into the conventional patterns, so there won't be an off-the-shelf tool that would help you with that. Then you would need to build your own product. And let's not forget, if you're a startup aiming to build a strategic moat, if you're, for example, collecting unique data or creating AI models, I think you want control over how the data flows and get processed.
Yeah, God, I definitely see that. So then, how do you know when something is truly a like a core differentiator versus just nice to own?
Uh, I think you need to ask yourself this question. If I nail this feature, does it change the trajectory of my business or not? If the answer is yes, then it's probably a core feature that you need to invest in building. If the answer is just it's gonna like cause a productivity boost, or it's just something like this, then it's probably a supporting function, and you don't need to invest in building it. Let me give you a couple of examples. So if, for example, if an e-commerce brand they were thinking of uh, owning a product recommendation engine, for example. So should we build this product recommendation system or should we buy an off-the-shelf component? I mean, it's nice to have that. So it's not a core feature in their business. And for example, SaaS solutions like Shopify, they with add-ons like Klaviyo, you can just do that just fine. So you don't need to invest in building it. But for example, if you're building a marketplace and dynamic pricing, if you have regional pricing is a core feature, is central to your business model, then for example, Shopify won't be enough. Then that's your IP, then you definitely should build it because there is no tool on the market that can satisfy this need.
Okay, that's pretty clear. Let's go back to these examples that you've been working with. So, what's a case where building something custom actually saved the client money long term?
Oh, so we're looking into successful stories. So we worked with a Dubai-based logistics startup that so they initially used software as a service route planning tool. It cost them, I think, about 2K a month. But every time their driver network changed, like they had new drivers coming in, drivers going out, or a client had a custom requirement, the system fell apart. Like there was zero flexibility. They use a lot of workarounds to overcome those limitations of the platform. So we helped them build their own route optimization engine using, by the way, open source GIS tools. Like it wasn't built from scratch. We adopted open source GIS tools and we built on top of them. So we built them custom dashboards. It took us, I think, 2, 3 months of time to build it. It costed them about 20K, but by the way, the cost they broke even in less than a year of what they were paying for the other service. But today, this solution, the custom solution that we built them, it powers their entire logistics platform and it's scaled with their growth. So they can just scale it up as much as they want. And they even turned it into a product and they started licensing it to other partners. So they're benefiting from it.
Wow, so quick break even, making money now off licensing it, and a far more stable platform. That sounds like a win-win-win. Um,
Yeah.
Take a pause here just to kind of summarize what you've been saying. So you're saying you need to build really when features define your product or your business model,
Yes, exactly.
and then also building when you need that flexibility or control, or you said proprietary data handling. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, I agree that, building's often more expensive up front, but it can be cheaper long term, right?
Yeah, but that's where most business owners fail to calculate the benefits on the long run versus the expenses, the overhead that you take at launching.
Okay. And I think, at the end of the day, it's important. Just, don't build for ego, just build for leverage, right?
You nailed it again, Tucker. Yeah, I think.
Fantastic. All right. So, talking about budgets and stuff. So, what are some of the hidden costs that people forget when they decide to build?
Oh, so I think this is where decision makers really turn. I mean, I think making the smarter choice of building versus buying carries a lot of risks that are not obvious upfront. So I think when you're building, this gives you a lot of control, but it comes with an invisible price tag. So here are some of I think, the factors that most people don't see or don't get prepared for. So first of all, you have your maintenance debt. So every line of code that is written is something that you now have to test, you have to secure, you have to keep upgrading and updating and support. And this doesn't go away at all. Once you build it, you need to own up to all of those. And then you have team dependency. So what happens when, for example, your lead developer leaves or the person who actually put together your MVP is the only one who understands it? So you have a dependency on the team that actually building that feature or that product for you. Third thing is it's definitely slower speed to market. So even with the greatest team alive, building takes time. I think most of the founders or business owners they have this misconception that if a woman can make a baby in 9 months, then nine women can make it in 1 month. That's definitely not the case, you know. So there is building needs time, even if you have the biggest and the most talented team on planet Earth. Fourth thing is, I think, is feature pressure. So once it's your platform, so you're responsible for fixing the bugs, your integrations, the performance, everything, like infrastructure. You're responsible for everything. Users don't care that you built it. They expect it to just be perfect and work as they expect it to. And finally, I think is the opportunity cost. Like, what else could your team have been doing if they weren't heads down building, for example, your next billing engine or your admin dashboard panel? Is there other stuff that you could have focused on that could have brought in more value? I think those are the five most important factors that business owners don't see ahead of building.
Yeah, that's quite extensive and just a short list there. Some key things to really look for. It's important to look at the full scope of the project and impact it's going to have before committing.
Yeah.
So, switching gears, what about buying? Where do people get blindsided when signing up for a SaaS product?
Well, SaaS tools seems cheap and easy until they're not. Like, here's a couple of points I think that would definitely catch your team off guard. So first of all, you have vendor locking. So your data, your workflows, even your pricing models might end up tied to how the tool works, okay, not how your business wants to operate. So that's the thing that you need to keep in mind before adopting a SaaS tool. Next is limited customizations. You need a non-standard flow, for example, or an integration. You might be stuck waiting for the vendor's roadmap to actually implement that integration or add in that workflow. Or you might even end up paying them a ton of money for a custom plan. Third thing is, I think, what we call a cost creep. So many tools start really slow, soft. This tool's usage starts at $50 a month, but once you scale the users up, once you add features, like APIs, add some customizations here, you suddenly end up paying 2K a month. So, I mean, you could have paid 60 and build it from scratch. Now you're stuck with a platform that is not fit to your business needs fully, and you're paying 2K a month. Next, I think it's feature fatigue, we call it. So you're paying for dozens of features that you don't use. So it's not just features that you need that doesn't exist on the platform on the tool, but it's also once you get that platform, it's loaded and bloated with tons of features that you might not be using at all. Okay, but they are still bolt into the platform. In some cases, you would need also to pay more fees to customize the interfaces to hide those features and tools that you're not using. And finally, it's the migration pain. Like switching away from a SaaS tool that you have adopted is super expensive. It's painful. So it's not just technically painful, it's also painful on the team that's running this. So you need to retrain your team, your staff. You need to rewrite your integrations. You need to update your business logic if you want to switch from one of those. So I think those are the main pain points that would catch your team off guard when adopting an off-the-shelf SaaS tool.
A lot of those things that you're mentioning actually pop into my mind. I'm not going to drop any names here specifically, but there's an e-commerce platform that basically thrives on a lot of those kind of predatory things where they start out cheap or free and then all of a sudden costs are horrendous and then everything's locked up. So even if you want to change to a different platform, you can't just download your product data and then shift over. You're locked in there. It's scary. But I have my own one in mind. But can you give us a real world example of where the cheap option turned out to be super expensive?
Yeah, I mean, we're working with this boutique real estate platform, like we worked with. So they started using, low-code website builders. They are all over the place right now. This is the buzz. This is the vibe. So they just adopted one of those low-code websites builders. They built in their listings. They added some CRM capabilities and booking. So it worked just fine for, I think, their first 20 clients. But as they grew, they wanted advanced search filters. They want analytics dashboards. They wanted multi-agent workflows. The tool couldn't scale, and their workarounds got messy over the time. Worse than that, their entire client database was soiled. So what we ended up doing is we migrated them to a custom-built headless CMS with Vue. I don't know if, yeah, so the Vue, the JavaScript uh, framework. So with a Vue-based front end, we integrated CRM logic with their back end. So it costs them more upfront, but on the long run, for the long term, it reduced their overhead. The speed of their website, of their platform, was increased drastically, and it gave them a product that they could actually later on also license to other agencies. So I think that's one of the main points that businesses don't get when they build their own product. Like, I know it's expensive, it's time consuming, but if you nail it, you can definitely get your money back by licensing what you have built to other competitors, to other people in the market.
Yeah, just as long as you don't become one of those SaaS problems, right? You just got to
Yeah.
avoid that. It's good to hear that about a pain point that you guys managed to turn into a win. That's awesome to hear. You know, taking a moment here just to kind of summarize what I've been hearing again. So building building takes a lot of, it costs time, talent and tech debt. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then it deals with, scaling, flexibility, escape plans. That's all in your control.
Yeah, that's what building offers you over buying. Yep.
Okay, so, bottom line is the cheapest option today. It could be the most expensive one tomorrow.
In today's world, unfortunately, yes. It's there are a lot of traps when it comes to buying tools rather than building them. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell my kids when they talk about playing those online games at the end of the day that those developers are going to get paid. So you can either pay up front for a quality product, or you can continue paying a lot, probably a lot more in the back, a little bit paying here and there. Okay, so switching gears again. So regarding buy versus build, how do you weigh speed control or speed versus control when you're making the call?
This is usually the first trade-off to map out if you're a business. Like if you need to be in a market fast, and then the problem is that you have is well defined, you need to go for speed, which often means you need to buy. Okay. But if the feature or the product that you're building is critical, it differentiates you in the market, it's your added value, or it needs to evolve quickly with your business, then control is more important. And at that point, I think you need to build. So think of it like this. Buy when you're still validating your business idea. It's not well defined, but build when you're scaling or productizing. Okay.
Okay. All right. So say I'm a startup with a 6 month runway. What's your advice?
Oh, I think you have to buy, no hesitation. Okay. So, because, I mean, if you have a runway of 6 months, your first job is survival and learning. Okay. You don't have that much ammo to spend along the way. So you're not here to prove that you can code, that you can build the best products. You're just here to find a product market fit. So you need to buy and use like one of the off-shelf tools that we spoke of.
Okay. So got it. So what's one question every founder should ask themselves before building?
Okay, so I think that would be the opposite. So will building this product or this feature gives us a sustainable advantage that we can't get by buying a product off the shelf? If the answer isn't clear yet, then you're probably better off buying, okay? Because the cost of being wrong when you build is way higher than the cost of being wrong when you buy. I know that you'd be spending time, you're spending money, but it's validating the decision of buying off the shelf is way shorter and less money demanding than trying to build and failing.
That makes great sense. Yeah, so I mean, I've been summarizing a couple times here, but can you give us a summary or like a framework for build versus buy?
So we have this 5 point build versus buy framework that we rely on. So that's a checklist that I usually use when helping our clients decide. So the first question that we ask, is this a core differentiator feature for you? If yes, let's build it. Do we have the internal capacity to build this? If you don't have that and you don't have a business partner that can help you build it, then definitely buy it. Can an off-the-shelf tool get us, let's say, 75, 80% there? If yes, maybe we don't over-engineer the last 20%. We try to simplify our business processes and go for a buy. So what's your timeline pressure? That would be my fourth question. If you have an urgency to go into market, then I would definitely favor buying. And finally, what does failure look like for you? Like if building delays you or it creates a risk of failure, then default to buying. So answering those 5 questions pretty much sums up everything that we've talked about so far.
Okay. All right, so getting into like specifics here. So let's talk about headless for e-commerce versus Shopify Plus. When does it really make sense to go headless?
For, I think you brought in a great example. So Shopify Plus is amazing. Okay, if you're launching fast, if you're using conventional catalog or checkout flows, then and you just want a powerful ecosystem of apps and templates, that would be amazing until you hit a point where you would need, for example, advanced product bundling. Shopify Plus doesn't have that. If you need, as we mentioned before, region-specific pricing and content, if you need to create custom loyalty workflows, or performance is key for you, for example, because most of those SaaS products, unfortunately, as I mentioned, since they come loaded with a lot of features and a lot of components that you won't need, so the performance might not be that good. So if that was a goal of yours, then you'd start running into limitations. And at that point, I think headless e-commerce becomes more attractive. Okay. So we worked with this luxury skincare brand in Germany. Uh, they adopted Shopify Plus first, but they couldn't create dynamic product bundles. They couldn't localize the experience. So we rebuilt their front end using Next.js and connected it to headless CMS and commerce API. So that boosted their first of all page load speed, for example, by I think 45%, 40% something, and conversions jumped almost 18, 20%. So it took us 3 months to do that, but now it's a huge brand asset. It's not just a Shopify template. So they own what they have. They own their product. They own their platform.
It's another great example of a win. Thank you for sharing. Um, have you ever worked on a CMS that became a Frankenstein project?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean that's I love the way that we're going. Yeah, buying versus building. Okay, so
Really keep
uh,
switching it up on you.
yeah. So we have this publishing client in the that we're operating in the MENA region. So their go-to solution, they started with WordPress. WordPress. Okay, so a lot of people just go with WordPress. It was easy. Okay, but over time they started adding, for example, a plugin for multi-language support. They added another plugin for gated content. They added a plugin for memberships, then another plugin for analytics. They ended up adding a ton of plugins in addition to actually custom coding a lot of widgets to serve their needs. So what started as a fast launch turned into a maintenance nightmare. Like their load times were slow. They had a lot of conflicting updates between those plugins. Nobody knew where one feature ended and the other began. So eventually, we helped them migrate to a headless CMS with a React front end. We rebuilt only what they needed. The code base got smaller, the site got faster, and the team could finally focus on content again.
You just hit me with positive story after positive story. So this is great. So what's the most impressive solution, build solution that you've seen pay off?
That's also another example from the main area, specifically from the UAE. So we had a UAE-based HR tech startup. So they wanted to offer an on-demand skill assessment platform, uh, but every off-the-shelf uh, platform, it lacked flexibility. So what they needed specifically was dynamic question banks. They wanted some time-based scoring logic, some of their own, and they wanted API access for third-party platforms. So we built a custom testing engine with real-time scoring. We added, I think, adaptive logic. There were a lot of integrations like Slack integration, email integrations. It took us almost 4.5 months to develop, but now it's the core IP behind their platform. Okay, like they've since licensed it to three other HR firms, so their internal build became a new revenue system. Do you see the same pattern repeating itself over a lot of the custom builds?
Yeah, I just keep hearing that, you know, those wins, those custom builds really build you something that's yours and you can kind of move forward with. Um, so thinking about what you've been saying, so Shopify's fast and headless is flexible, right?
Yeah,
Okay. You had said WordPress gets you live. I think we've all been there creating some quick and easy WordPress sites. But the custom CMS is going to be able to give you more flexibility and power at the end of the day.
correct.
Okay, and then you can build something that's painful today, but it can be a long-term asset for you.
Yeah, if you nail it, if you do it correctly, it's definitely going to be a huge asset later on down the road.
Okay, so what do you say to somebody then that's still stuck on the fence?
Okay, don't rush the decision. If you have some time, analyze it. But at the same time, don't stay stuck in analysis paralysis either. I would say start by mapping out your business goal. Okay, are you still validating an idea? Are you looking for scaling or an advantage over other competitors? Uh, are you fixing a bottleneck? I mean, you can ask yourself then, do we need control or do we need speed to market? Is this something that will outgrow us quickly? Is it tied to how we make money or how we operate? And finally, I think the most and foremost important thing is get a second opinion. You need to talk to a tech lead, a product expert who's done both. Okay. The right call often comes from context and not instinct. Okay. So don't go around asking your family members, just consult someone with proper knowledge and who has done both of those.
Okay, so speaking of proper knowledge, then where can people reach out if they want help scoping the right path?
Okay, if you're evaluating whether to build or buy, especially for internal platforms, for example, AI integrations, product MVPs, you can definitely reach out to Penta Creative. We've helped startups and mid-sized companies all over the world make these calls with clarity. We're more than happy to do a quick discovery call to help you assess both options. So you can either message me directly on LinkedIn or just head to pentacreative.co.uk/contact and yeah, drop us a message, give us a call.
Fantastic. Awesome stuff, Monir. And thank you to everyone listening. Just we're a bit a little over time, so I got to wrap this up. But if you found this useful, please follow the show, leave a review, share this with somebody that's facing these same decisions. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creative Ops, and we'll see you next time.